Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Open University.
Hello friends, on behalf of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Open University, Ahmedabad, I welcome you to this video lecture. This is a lecture for the Master of Arts in Journalism and Mass Communication students, and we are discussing paper 8, which is on professional writing. Today we are discussing Unit 2, which is on digital journalism. As you must be knowing, digital journalism is here to stay, and it is for a number of reasons. Because technology has a very powerful impact on how people live their lives. And we know that technology these days is largely influenced by the digital world. And when I talk about the digital world, what I mean about the digital world is that everything, all the data that we know about can be condensed into a 0 or a 1. So the video that you are watching, it can all be condensed into a massive combination of zeros and ones. The picture you see, the words you read, any interactive things that you see, everything at the base of it is in a digital format. This is all a binary format in 1 and 0. And what that means is that one thing can be converted to the other. There can be a lot of other data analysis which was not possible in the analog world. And that is why even writing in the digital world has to be of a different order. So digital journalism is not just about the use of technology, but about the use of certain persuasive techniques or the understanding of certain platforms which are much easier for people to access. It is no longer restricted to people who have limited access to the traditional media, because these days, as we've discussed earlier as well, it is the mobile first generation. People consume everything on the mobile screen first. You get to know about the news, you get to know about any happening, you get to know about any good thing. And most of the time, this is something that we are tethered to. We are almost attached to the mobile phones. And probably from there, we move on to the other domains as well. But digital journalism is not only about mobile phones, it is about much more than that, because the content, because it is transferable, and that is one of the important aspects of the digital world, that you can transfer from one kind of a format to the other, because everything is interchangeable. Everything, whatever is there in the print media or whatever is there in a print format, can be taken into an audiovisual format. The audiovisual format, we can transcribe and bring it to the print media format. So there is the possibility of the same content being used on different platforms. So the formal definition of digital journalism is that it is the dissemination of news and information through online platforms encompassing text, audio and video content. So the thing I was talking about, the transferability, so it can be text, it can be audio, it can be video, it can be a combination of all those things. And the evolution from traditional media to digital media represents a significant shift in how news is produced, distributed and consumed. And these are very important points, because news is no longer produced in the old analog way where somebody used to write it or maybe record it on a massive camera setup or recorded in a massive radio setup. This production is much more easier these days. Just with the use of a mobile phone, you can create or you can produce real studio quality video content for that matter, or you can even do a lot of editing and those kind of things on the mobile platform itself. So the presence of the digital platform makes it possible for news production to be of a different order. How news is distributed. The distribution of news also is much easier, because thanks to the availability of a very accessible internet, anybody who has access to an internet connection and has a small smartphone can access content of various kinds through applications, through online platforms, through websites and all these things. So even the distribution of news is much different. Consumption is a lot different than what it used to be. So people can consume it at any point of time. In fact, on the OTT platform, you can watch all the serials, for example, at one go. So the key attributes of digital journalism include its diverse content forms, different content forms, real-time updates, whatever is happening, we can get updates right now, right then. So we get all those updates, for example, about the cricket scores also. And the interactive nature, one can interact with that in a very regular way. These aspects allow for a more dynamic and engaging news experience. It's a dynamic experience because I'm interacting. I'm not a passive listener. I'm actively engaging there. And things like virtual reality and augmented reality, for that matter, allows the reader or the viewer or the consumer to go get inside the story, and he's a participant there. So there is a more dynamic and engaging news experience on the digital world compared to the traditional print and broadcast media. And we are now going to talk about the different platforms and accessibility. Now that's the platforms can include social media platforms, they can include over the top or the OTT platforms, websites and applications and all other kind of things. And they are easily accessible. Now many of these things have different kind of revenue models. So they are, some part of it is free at in some of those platforms, for example, and the premium content is something for which you have to pay for. So the platforms utilized in digital journalism include news websites, blogs, and social media sites like Twitter, which is also known as X these days, and Facebook. Each platform caters to different audience preferences and style of news consumption. So audience preferences are catered to by these platforms, and even the styles of news consumption is quite different on these platforms. So on certain platforms you might just be consuming news, on other platforms you might be interacting, on certain platforms you consume more video content or things which are like reads and so on and so forth. On other content you prefer written stuff. So the styles of news consumption is also influenced by these platforms in many ways. And the accessibility of digital journalism is characterized by its continuous availability. It's available continuously, it's available all points of time, it's available everywhere. Even if you leave the country and go elsewhere, with the same access to your applications or websites, you can access the same kind of a content. So with the widespread use of Wi-Fi and broadband connections, readers have the flexibility to access news at their convenience, transforming how and when people engage with journalism. So readers have the flexibility to access news anytime. It's not like television that if you miss it, it's gone. You can access it, you can replay it, you can pause it, you can even reuse it for your own purpose. So it transforms how people engage with journalism and when people engage with journalism. So you do it at your own leisure. There is no fixed prime time for that matter. So that also leads to a wide variety of content. So it's we've already spoken about the use of text and audio and visual and the interactive formats. Plus there are formats like blogs and vlogs that we will talk about in today's lecture. So all these things are also available for a content producer, and also readers have a choice. The choice is not limited to certain kinds of news content. This is it spans a variety of forms and it spans a variety of platforms also. So digital journalism breaks the constraints of traditional media. It has content which ranges from concise updates. So it could be like 280 character tweets, or it could be in shorts or those kind of things, to extensive long forms articles. In coming lectures, we'll also talk about these long form articles. And this flexibility allows journalists to tailor their reporting to the specific demands of their stories and audiences. Journalists have the choice, or they have the freedom to tailor their reporting, that okay, if it is for a Twitter audience, I do not need to speak much, just the main news. If it is a long form content, even for the digital media, then I can provide about the whys and the hows and the what next, and to the specific demands of the audiences. So the audiences expect, for example, on a particular platform, that the news will be more of a audiovisual content. So the journalist or the content producer has to address those concerns. So the content in digital journalism is a mix of original and aggregated material. So some of it might be your own reporting, that you go to the field, you talk to people, you click pictures, you have videos, so on and so forth. And it is also aggregated from other websites, from other platforms, from library content, from archives and all those kind of things. So there are a lot of these aggregator apps which aggregate news from all the traditional print media and they put it on their own platform. So digital journalism is at times this aggregated mix as well, and according to what readers require. So for example, some readers might want more sports news, so those aggregated material will be a lot about sports news. So while original content is created by journalists, this aggregated content is compiled from various sources, and this caters to a wide spectrum of reader interests. For example, if someone is interested in page 3 news about celebrity gossip and all, then the application, knowing on the reader's taste, because we know there are algorithms which see what you prefer, and you might have noticed it that on Facebook or on Twitter or on even on Google, they know about your previous searches and they would show you content which they think is suitable for your taste and suitable for your likes and preferences. One of the most important things of the digital media, or one of the important affordances, or one of the important freedoms that the digital media affords the audience is interactivity. That you can put in your own response and the platform will respond back to you, or the content producer will respond back to you in your own ways. And also, as I said earlier, if there are certain things that you want to enlarge, to zoom, to download, to speed up and all those kind of things, you can do that on the digital journalism platform, because it's all, as I said, the content is all ones and zeros, and it is a lot more suitable for those kind of activities which the audience wants to do. So audience engagement is much higher on the digital platform. So digital journalism actively incorporates audience engagement features such as comment sections. So most of those websites or even applications, or of course on social media platform, you have lot of this user generated content, but generally digital journalism, even if it's on a traditional media platform, they would be having a content section where they want readers to participate in dialogues and offer feedback. So it is a very important medium for interaction amongst the audience and for the content producers to know that which is the part that people like, or which are the content that people engage with, and that is a very important data to have. Because if you know that people are engaging in one kind of content, you would replicate that, or you could take that feedback and have more of that kind of a content. So this interactivity enriches the journalistic experience because it provides you with all the diverse perspectives. So when people come and give comments, you get to know certain things which you might not have known. So this is a very important repository of perspectives from people of different backgrounds, of different kinds of identities, and it also kind of provides a platform where people can have these discussions. Otherwise, those public platforms were exceedingly rare. For example, you would need to write a letter to the editor on the print newspaper, and depending on whether they had space or whether your letter was something that could be printed, it would be allowed into the letters pages. But as you would know, they were very limited, and there was a big lag between the time in which you sent the letter and by the time in which it was printed. So these community discussions are a lot more easier on the digital platform these days. The impact of social media in digital journalism extends to enabling public reactions and discussions on news stories, and that is very, very important. So we get to know the impact of the stories through these reactions on social media. For example, how people react to the story, whether they are enraged or whether they are happy or whether they are empathetic, and those kind of things. That is why these social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook have become vital spaces for widespread public discourse, because that is the platform on which this public discourse happens, and that influences how news is perceived and discussed. Journalistic research has also evolved over the times, and we had a discussion in our earlier sections where we said that earlier most of the journalistic activity was based on a certain set of factors. It could be either official records which were there in the hardbound form or in a printed form, or it could be people that you spoke to, or it could be certain other things which were present in the physical world. So journalistic research was more about poring through those documents, talking to people and looking at associations and those kinds of things. But research methods in journalism have undergone significant changes with the advent of digital platforms, because now journalists can extensively use online sources. It can be from general information on Wikipedia, although it's too general at times and you would require something more specialized. And there are lots of open source websites and even social media posts. So lot of journalists inputs is from how people are reacting to those social media posts, and through hashtags and all, people would get to know about what is trending and what people are saying on a particular issue, because you would be knowing by the use of those hashtags you can group certain kinds of content together. So this reliance on digital tools for news research is evident in a lot of those studies, and which one such study that we are quoting on this slide found out that 50% of journalists use social media as their primary source of information. So people have put on their notifications, and whenever something newsworthy happens, they get to know first through the social media. So this shift underscores the growing importance of digital resources in journalistic research. It's the digital resources which are more important for journalists these days. The social media, as we have just seen, has a very important role in news gathering, because it is not just about the newsmakers. Of course, newsmakers don't have to call press conferences these days. They just put out a tweet and everybody knows that what is their view on a certain event, or what they're saying about their stand on against policy, or what they want to say about the cricket match or whatever. So we get to know about the response of the celebrities. We also get to know about the larger public voice in the social media on certain events. So social media has become a very invaluable tool for news gathering. Journalists routinely use platforms like Twitter and Facebook not only as sources of information, but as a means to gauge public opinion, that they want to find out what is public opinion on a particular issue. And they also see these social media information to find out about public trend, what is the trend of public opinion in that particular case. So social media allows journalists to tap into a diverse array of voices and perspectives. So they allow journalists to reach out to these diverse voices and perspectives which otherwise wouldn't have been possible. And they catch wind of the stories as they unfold in real time, so they can see that this is how people are reacting, this is what is happening, this is how political leaders are reacting, so on and so forth. So this immediacy and broad access, it provides journalists with a wealth of information that was previously very difficult to obtain. And I was talking about these hashtags, so that's one of the methods in which we kind of group single stories together. For example, if I were to talk about weather in Ahmedabad, I would have the hashtag Ahmedabad weather, and everybody who puts stories about the Ahmedabad weather would be using that hashtag. So just by searching this hashtag, which is like these lines on your keyboard, I'm sure all of you know about the hashtag. It's there on your keyboard with the number 3, so that's the hashtag. So the hashtag is a very important way for you to add on to onto a discussion which exists, and people who are researching, they can search for a particular hashtag to find out a story under a particular grouping. So that helps people monitor stories better. So hashtags have become a pivotal tool in digital journalism for tracking and compiling information related to specific topics or events. They enable journalists to follow ongoing stories. So journalists are able to follow the stories through the use of these hashtags, gather diverse viewpoints, gather different kind of viewpoints, and connect with audiences interested in those topics. So the use of hashtags helps journalists curate a stream of relevant information, get different kinds of information together from various sources, allowing them to stay updated with the latest developments and public reactions. So this practice has become essential in the fast-paced environment of online news reporting. Everything is not good about online journalism. There are lots and lots of pitfalls. For example, anybody who has some bad intentions can put out any information out on the internet, and it can cause trouble, as we have seen in many cases. In many cases, a lot of unverified information are even picked up by journalists. They do not know whether that thing has already happened, but since it's there on the internet, many people without verifying take that information and use it to create other journalistic content, and that can create real problems. So this immediacy of digital journalism, we know that it is very beneficial. It has all the advantages of engaging audiences, of knowing the story as it unfolds, etc. But it also brings certain pitfalls, as I said. The pressure to break the news first. It can sometimes lead to the sacrifice of the due diligence, that you, because you are pressurized, you don't want others to beat you in breaking to the news. At times you do not verify it as much as you should. So this rush for immediacy results in inaccuracies, which leads to subsequent clarifications or retractions. But the good thing is that on the digital media, if something goes wrong, you have the choice to retract the story. But the problem is, by the time you retract the story or you do the corrections, it has already reached out to a lot of people, or people might take those screenshots and they might distribute the wrong information, and people might not know that there has been a clarification later on. So the ease of updating and deleting online content can sometimes be misused. So you put up some content, you get some reactions, and then you change the original content, and that can lead to trouble. So this ease of updating and deleting online content can sometimes be misused to alter or remove incorrect information. This practice can erode public trust in digital news sources. So this highlights the need for rigorous fact checking and editorial standards in digital journalism. So we are now going to talk about the accessibility of the digital journalism. So one of the most significant aspects of digital journalism is its accessibility. Practically anyone with a smartphone and an internet connection can produce and disseminate news content. It's that easy, and that leads to a lot of these ontological questions, because news output is not just created by professional journalists or people who have a professional training in journalism. It can be produced by almost anybody. So this democratization has broadened the scope of who can be a news content producer. He might not be a professional journalist, but he is doing the job of journalist. So seasoned journalists and even amateurs, they can utilize mobile phones for capturing and sharing news. So as it is happening, and because of the availability of very high definition cameras on your mobile phones, you can just create videos of very high quality. So platforms like blogging sites have lowered the barriers to entries. There are blogging sites you don't even need a website. You just start a blog. It's as easy as opening a Microsoft Word file page. So it allows at the same time diverse range of voices. So it's no longer limited to people who have access to the journalistic platform. Anybody is now allowed to participate in journalism. So the digital media landscape is vast and varied. So the digital media landscape includes websites, it includes social media, it includes internet radio, it includes electronic publishing, online photography distribution, and each of these platforms, as we have seen, cater to different aspects of digital journalism. Websites serve as a hub for both traditional news outlets and new digital only publications. So, for example, a popular newspaper house can have their own website where they are using their own content which is there in the print media edition for the web edition as well. And websites are also there for digital only publications that do not have a print version, it's digital only. And social media platforms offer interactive spaces for news dissemination and discussion. Internet radio and podcasts provide audio based news, while platforms like Getty Images and others are key for photojournalism. You can buy photos or you can at times download them for free. So, digital platforms have adapted traditional news reporting principles to the online environment. Reporters gather and write news with the same commitment to objectivity and accuracy, but the digital medium adds new dimensions, as we have seen. So, in addition to writing, digital reporters often use smartphones to capture photos and videos, enhancing their stories with multimedia elements. This approach caters to the evolving consumption habits of online audiences. The role of online news reporter extends beyond traditional writing. It includes multimedia content creation and instant updates, reflecting the dynamic nature of digital journalism. So, the toolkit for an online reporter includes not just journalistic skills, but also technical competencies in digital media. Proficiency in handling various digital tools and platforms is essential for the online reporter. Online reporters must be adept at using smartphones for capturing high quality visuals, conducting in-spot interviews, on-spot interviews, and performing live broadcast. You can go for live streaming as well. So, the multifaceted role of online journalists involves adapting content for various formats. And it could be writing scripts for videos, creating engaging posts for social media, or writing blogs and those kind of things. So, digital technology has also revolutionized feature journalism for matter. So, feature articles in the digital space are characterized by their depth and storytelling style, but they also leverage the interactive and multimedia capabilities of the online platforms. Unlike news reporting, feature journalism in the digital realm is not constrained by strict deadlines. It is not for a particular deadline. It is more visually appealing. It uses rich media like photos and videos to enhance the narrative. So, thank you for staying along, friends. We were discussing the Unit 2 on digital journalism, and this was the part 1 of the lecture. I'll be back with part 2 of the lecture very soon. And we're recording this at the Chaitanya Studio, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. I'll be back with part 2 of this Unit 2 very soon. Till then, have a great time.